It was an ordinary Wednesday morning at Winston High School, the kind of day where the air hummed with the usual chatter of students. Laughter echoed down the hallways as lockers slammed and feet shuffled across the worn, tiled floors. Teachers were preparing lessons, and students begrudgingly headed to their first period classes. Everything felt normal until the bell rang. But this time, the bell wasn't announcing the start of class. It wasn't even a bell at all. The sound was a sharp, ear-splitting bang. At first, most of the students thought it was part of some senior prank, a firework, or maybe a car backfiring nearby. Then came the second bang, and the third. By the fourth, everyone knew what it was. The chilling realization swept through the building like a cold wind. Someone was shooting. The hallways, which were buzzing with life just moments ago, became eerily silent. Doors slammed shut, and teachers scrambled to lock their classrooms. Desks were flipped, students hid under them, and hearts pounded like drums in the suffocating quiet that followed each echoing gunshot. In room 204, Mrs. Harper tried her best to remain calm, urging her students to huddle in the corner, away from the windows and door. She whispered reassurances, but her face betrayed her fear. There was something about the way the shots were growing closer that gnawed at everyone's nerves. Jenny, a quiet girl who sat near the front, clutched her phone with trembling hands. She stared at the screen, at the message she was about to send her mom. "I love you." The unsent text flickered as her hand shook uncontrollably. Suddenly, there was a faint knock on the classroom door. The students froze. No one moved. Mrs. Harper raised a finger to her lips, signaling silence, and tiptoed toward the door. Her hands shook as she reached for the knob. Then there was another knock, softer this time, almost polite. "Let me in," a boy's voice said. It was soft, calm, too calm. "It's okay, it's just me." Jenny's blood turned cold. She recognized the voice. It was Ben, the boy who sat 2 rows behind her in English class. The boy who had always been a little strange, who never quite fit in. The boy who had been absent for the past week. Mrs. Harper didn't move. She kept her hand on the door, as if by holding it, she could keep the horror on the other side from breaking in. "Mrs. Harper," Ben's voice came again, a little louder this time. "Open the door, please." A gunshot rang out, shattering the silence, the door's wood splintering from the impact. Screams erupted from the students, and Mrs. Harper stumbled back, her hand covering her mouth in horror. Jenny's breath caught in her throat as the doorknob rattled violently. Ben was trying to get in. There was no more calm knocking, no more polite requests. The metal handle twisted and jerked as if possessed, and the only thing standing between them and Ben's fury was the flimsy lock on the classroom door. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the rattling stopped. Everyone waited, breaths held, ears straining to hear even the faintest sound. The silence was unbearable, pressing in on them like a living thing. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, footsteps echoed down the hallway, growing fainter with each step. They exhaled, almost believing it was over. Maybe the police had arrived. Maybe help was coming. But Jenny knew better. She had seen the look in Ben's eyes before, in those quiet moments in class when he thought no one was watching. She had seen the darkness, the loneliness, and the growing anger. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, the screen lighting up in the darkened room. Her heart stopped as she saw the notification. It was a text from Benjamin. Not yet. Before she could react, before she could warn anyone, the final bang echoed down the hall. But this one wasn't a gunshot. It was the fire alarm. And then the lights went out. In the pitch-black darkness of the classroom, they heard it. A door creaking open, somewhere nearby, and a whisper, barely audible, drifting through the hallway. "I'm not done." The students' terrified breaths were the only sounds left. They knew the nightmare was far from over.